The Chiefs went back to the well and back to offense on day 3 of the NFL draft. What happened? Coming up next on Locked On Chiefs Live.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, for your day 3 wrap of the NFL draft for 2025. Very exciting. Kudos to Green Bay. We're brought to you by LinkedIn. Right now, you can get qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster and for free by posting your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Check it out. Terms and conditions do apply. We're going to wrap it up here as some of the last picks are coming off of the board. We are live. Thanks for joining us. Like, sub, hit the bell, do the things, get all the stuff. Check out another Locked On show for your next one. Thanks for making us your first listen post-draft. We are going to go and run down everything here and what's coming in terms of UDFAs. UDFAs coming up a little bit later. Moving around the board that they did do some today on day 3, and they got back to offense as well as another player that I do like on day 3. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. If you want to know more about the guys that just became Chiefs, go get the draft guide at rogueapc.com and use the code LOC to get a discount on it. I can also be found over at NFL 33, where you'll have some of my takeaways this week as well, and on RGR Football. This is my partner, Chris Clark. You can find him at KC Chiefs Corner, doing all of his thing on the quarterbacks, on the Chiefs. The cap is going to be interesting now. Shed some light on maybe the future as well. And if you want breaking news outside of this draft now, you can find it at 816-357-8781. Go get subbed over there as well. I'm kind of excited here. I thought there was a lot that went on, and I think they did very, very well towards the direction that I was going. Not all the right players that I thought were the best fits, but the same concepts were true. They got another weapon that has inside-outside versatility, some explosiveness to his game, some change of direction to his game in Jalen Royles. In the 4th round, how did you like that pick? What was the fit for you?
I loved it. I think it's a great pick for them. They add another guy with explosion. They have another track type guy. And this is a pick that I think he's going to take some time to adapt to the NFL game, needs to work on his press, his ability to get off against the press. But I think that this is going to be a good pick. And the reality is he's a 4th round pick, doesn't have to come in and start. He can come in and be basically your 4th or 5th wide receiver going into this season and be in good shape to compete for a starting role in 2026 and still give you good snaps in 2025.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. He came in at number 8 in the short area quickness matrix this year. That's a really great stat. Came in number 10 in the explosive range matrix for the wide receiver class. So 2 top 10 finishes in aspects that really are accentuated by the Chiefs offense. I think it's an incredible fit. He was probably my best player available overall, and the Chiefs got him where they got him in the 4th.
I was going to say, where did you have him going? Because I saw a lot of people that had him late 2nd, early 3rd.
Yes.
Which would
Dan
give them almost a
2-round
value.
Yeah. We both had him at the top of the 3rd, like in the first 10 picks.
Okay.
So, yeah, that does look like value. I don't know if maybe they just saw something they didn't like that held them back, but being able to do that on day 3 and get a player that I think should have been a top 100, I think that's great value.
Yeah. And he gets the ball. He catches the ball outside of his body, goes and picks it with his hands. That's also a good thing for a wide receiver. Like I said, he's going to have some stuff he's got to work on, but I am very excited about having another guy that can run fast and take the top off defenses. And that is just adding another speed element to this team. And let's not talk. I mean, I didn't even mention the fact that one of his best attributes is his ability to get yak yardage.
Mm-hmm. That's the big thing. That's the short game. It adds to that in between. So Xavier can still stretch. Hollywood can still stretch. You don't have to do all the drag work with Rashee Rice. You have now someone else that you can put out there. Quite frankly, the man that should be scared of this is Sky Moore, because he's going to have a chance to take that role opposite Travis Kelce and be that underneath, hit the ball quick, be the hot route, and get out.
Yeah, people aren't even thinking about Sky Moore anymore, other than a couple of people that cover the Chiefs and talk about them on a semi-regular basis.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Well, something just went that I wasn't happy with. Apologies, I missed Keaton Crawford going to a non-Kansas City team. So sorry, as we're still rolling through the end of the draft here, folks, I am still keeping an eye on it. So some things are just popping to me. That was a stable pick. The second pick of the day comes on a small trade up yet again. 4 trades to move into these picks in this draft. They ended up taking 6. I thought that was 5 or more, so I'm happy that they hit that. They pull in Jeffrey Bossa, who I actually had another high grade on. I got to double check exactly where I had him. I had him in the 90th slot, right there between 90 and 93. Another top 100 grade for me on my board that they get in the 5th round. I was surprised they had to move up for him. So they must have gotten spooked by something, is my guess. But this is a guy that can come in and play special teams. He can compete right now with Jack Cochran, with Cam Jones, to see what he can do. I think he's a heady player. I think he's got some growing to do, but I like the fit in Kansas City.
Yeah, and he gives them somebody that was the guy calling the defense last year. I mean, that's something else that is going to add a feather in his cap, and it's versatility. He came into college as a safety and got moved to linebacker. That gives you start looking at the speed, start looking at his change of direction, his ability to play that position. Coming from a safety aspect, it's going to be something that's going to benefit Kansas City. And while I don't think he gets into a point where he's starting this year, because I think that position's already set, this is exactly what you need on those types of guys that you want for your core special teams guys, and that can make contributions. Chiefs are going to have 5 linebackers at least on the roster. They've had 5 linebackers for probably as long as you and I have covered them, and they've been a 4-3 team. That's about how many they take every single year. It's going to be 5. So he's obviously going to be on the roster. I don't think that's going to be a question. But at this point, it's just a matter of, does he get any defensive snaps throughout the year? I don't think he needs to be successful and to consider it a successful pick, considering he was a 5th rounder. But I do expect that he's going to be a core special teamer and a big special teams guy for this team.
Yeah, I have to think so as well. I like that they were aggressive and went and got him too. And then the Chiefs finished off. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know we're talking Chiefs, but we talked about it so much in pre-draft process. Did you see your boy Teddy Buchanan went in the 4th?
I did. And once again, Teddy went exactly where I had him on my board, because that's the value he brings. I'm a little jealous. I thought it might have happened there. We'll talk about some of my other frustrations coming up later in the show. But the Chiefs finished the day by packaging their 7ths together and moving up yet again, still in the 7th, to get Rashard Smith from SMU, a guy that lines up at running back. I think they can split him out into the slot a little bit, give him a little bit of the DAT treatment. But I do think he is meant to be a pass-catching running back in this particular offense. A lot of folks are already throwing out conjecture that, hey, this is the Sky Moore replacement. No, that's Jalen Royles. This guy, I think, is meant to be more options as a 3rd down back. Now, I liked Tootin better, but Tootin went higher than him. And so if you're going to miss out on an explosive back like Tootin, this is the next best thing. The guy's got a lot of upside as an athlete, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in a Chiefs uniform.
Yeah, a little undersized as a running back, 5'10", just under 200 pounds, I believe, from what I saw.
Yep.
And you're looking at a guy that I think still ran in the 4.3s. I think it was higher 4.3s, not quite 4, down where Pacheco was, but gives you a lot of speed and was a former wide receiver. So the aspect of being able to come on the field and be a 3rd down back, the question always with those types of guys is, can they block? Can they become a pass protector? Can they be good enough at that? Because that's if they're going to get on the field for 3rd down, they have to be able to pass protect. And if he can't, he'll have a hard time seeing the roster or seeing the field at that position.
He is a work in progress in that aspect, but he's such a dynamic receiver. And he did finish for the running back group 7th in change of the direction, the short area quickness matrix, and 11th an explosive range matrix. So he's got that aspect to him. So if he's on the field, you're probably getting him in a route. I don't know if he's going to be able to block as a rookie, maybe even as a 2nd-year player, but he will be somebody that will be a mismatch for linebackers. And so maybe he does get on the field a little bit just for that aspect.
Well, and that means you have two running backs on the field at the same time, more than likely. And I think that's going to be another interesting aspect potentially for Andy Reid to use in this offense.
It very much could be. Now, they did this by making some moves. they're pretty active. I want to talk about what they did to get where and how it paid off. That's coming up next. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means it's time to hire. You need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it free and easy to post for free on your profile with your network and get qualified candidates that you're looking for all in one place. So post your job. The new feature can even help you write job descriptions and then quickly get in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's the pro tip. Add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find the high quality hires right away. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Now, this is a fun draft. If you want more about it, you can get it everywhere else that we put out content at KC Chiefs Corner for Chris. My stuff over at rogueapc.com, where you can go get the matrix, get the draft guide. NFL 33 for the league-wide and the draft coverage. Front office grades will be coming. And then RGR football for us breaking down these prospects and how they fit, et cetera, et cetera. I'm more excited, not just about the fact that I think that they got a draft class that fills needs and provides upside. I don't think anything was a pressure pick. I don't feel like they succumbed to anything circumstantial around who else was moving around the draft board. And I feel like they were really nimble in moving where they felt they needed to be to make these selections. 4 trades for 6 draft picks. I thought that was a possibility. Are you surprised by it?
Not at all. We talked pre-draft. They're not going to pick as many times as they have draft picks. They're not going to have that many players that are going to make this roster. So when you look at this draft class, trading back to get an extra pick early on netted them an extra linebacker. Now they had to give up another pick to go get that linebacker. Mm-hmm. So it ended up being, basically a net neutral when you talk about number of picks. But at the same time, I mean, you're making all these different trades. You make a trade to move back, you get a 5th-round pick. Then you come back and you trade away a 7th-round pick to move up a couple picks and take somebody you trade your 4th-round pick from next year to move up and get your guy in the 3rd round. And then you trade away your 7th-round picks, one in the 5th round and another in the 7th round. You trade 2 picks away to go get your running back. So to me, this was always a matter of you're going to use those picks as you need to try to move around the board and get the guys that you want to get. And you know what? If you give up an extra pick, even though maybe that they could have possibly been there, if you get the guy that you want, so be it. That's the way I look at it. I mean, those 7th rounders generally aren't going to make the roster. You're going to make the roster. And you have to just look at it from an aspect of, okay, go get who you want. Use them and go get who you want. And if you still have the 7th rounders, then you throw it out there and you get a guy that would be an undrafted free agent otherwise that you probably couldn't get.
Yeah. And I think what we draw a distinction from what we saw in the mock drafts is just how much those 7th rounders can help you. The 226 help them move up in the 5th by a good little jump to get ahead of a linebacker rush. But combining them in the 7th got you nearly 2/3 of a round in the 7th. So I think it's good utilization of what you have in terms of your assets to still take selections.
And look at who they're trading with. They traded with the Patriots twice. They traded with the Steelers. They traded with the Eagles. Obviously I wouldn't have picked that they would be trading with the Eagles. It doesn't surprise me the Steelers later in the draft. I don't think the Steelers would have traded with them early on. But later in the draft, it's a completely different issue. And it makes 100% sense that the Patriots want to make trades and get more picks because that's a young roster that needs more players. And so if they can get more, they're going to take the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I'm glad that they were selective, but they were targeted. And they did it for reasons. So what that is it makes it kind of late in the process. You can't pre-trade those because you're trying to react really to what goes on. And by the way, we're not going to mention Philly anymore because they did the deed that really, really made me angry. We'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. But utilization of those picks to get chances. Brashard Smith, 7th round pick now. Not sure he's going to make the roster. There's some talent there, but he has a shot at it because he's different. Is there a possibility that an actual veteran makes the practice squad in Kareem Hunt or Elijah Mitchell? Could be. Elijah Mitchell's also a third down type back, at least in my mind, given the injuries and everything. So do you need 2 of them? I don't know. But it gives you more options. And whether he makes it or not as a 7th round pick, I'm not as concerned, although I do like his upside. He has a lot of learning to do, a lot of field in terms of being a running back. But just as a pass catcher out of the backfield, it's just too good to pass up. Now, I do think Bossa has a much better chance, and I think Royles makes this roster without much of a scratch here. Do you doubt any of that?
No. And I don't think the 4th and 5th round guys are going to be going anywhere. And honestly, Brashard Smith probably isn't going to be going anywhere either. They went out and they drafted him. They decided this is a guy that we want. Unless he comes in and falls on his face, which it happens. Yeah, you miss on picks all the time, especially, you're talking about 7th round pick. It's possible it happens. You hope it doesn't, but this is, it's the NFL draft. So to me, I think that you have all the players up into the 5th round are probably just about guaranteed a spot on the roster. The 7th round pick, I would think, is going to make the roster, especially with what he brings. But that's the question mark is what's Elijah Mitchell look like coming back? What's Kareem Hunt look like coming back? How does that play into all of this? What does Pacheco look like coming back? All of that is going to play into who's going to make that running back room.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And in the chat, Sean B., thanks for joining us live. You know me too well, sir. We're going to talk about the calculated misses, what went wrong, and what are the UDFAs to target. That's coming up next. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving away new customers an incredible way to get into the action right now. When you join FanDuel and you place a first bet of $5, you can earn up to $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes it easy no matter what season it is. Now that March Madness is over, we're moving it on to the NBA. It's going to be baseball, and then we are going to finally get back to ball on the field for the NFL. From three-pointers to steals to assists to making those kicks, it's all here, and your chance is at FanDuel. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. We're going to have more for you, taking a look at fits onto the roster, et cetera, as OTAs get ready to swing up. So don't miss this coming week of our post-draft coverage as we look at this class and how it begins to fit in. We'll also have coverage of the UDFAs as they get signed. We're going to talk about some of them here in a second. I want to talk one player in particular, but in general, what some calculated misses were. The Chiefs passed on some players that I had good grades on, and a lot of people had good grades on, including linemen like Cam Williams, Miles Frazier, some other running backs, a couple other wide receivers as well, like my guy Horton. A lot still out there as well, so we'll see what the UDF class looks like. But the thing that really, really got my gander, Noah Williams has to perform. That's all I'm going to say, because either they had an opportunity, as I understand, to move up in the 4th as well, and they just couldn't get ahead of the Eagles. So they would have maybe had to do it on the end of round 3. But Ty Robinson would have been an incredible fit in here. You heard me talk about him all preamble. He ends up with the Eagles again. And that it's just grinding on me. I had to get it off my chest. I might be the only one that's this perturbed by it. But as much as I appreciate Howie helping in the first, I'm pissed that this is what happened.
It's going to happen at times, and you're not going to be able to get trades done, and teams are going to take the guys you want, and it sucks. But I will say this. I think you look at this class, and I think you have to feel pretty good about what they got done in the first couple of rounds. They get a potential franchise left tackle in the first round. Yeah. You get a guy that could be a plus-level defensive tackle if he can get the running game part of his game figured out at defensive tackle. You get a plus, possibly a plus D end as well at the top of the 3rd round. If Noel can come in here and compete and be a starter at CB, you might have just hit a home run with this draft. I mean, that's the reality at this point. Like, doesn't even matter about the 5th round pick or the 7th round running back or the 4th round wide receiver. Like, those first 4 picks give you the opportunity to add a youth to this roster and add more guys that can help you compete this year and in the next couple of years.
Just to complain a little bit more about the Eagles, they also picked up Cam Williams and Miles Hinton, and now they're Stoutland proteges, and they're going to turn into all pros because we let them go there. So I'm just a little perturbed here.
I have to ask a question.
Yeah.
Bond didn't get picked.
No, hell no.
You shocked?
No, not at all, and I wouldn't bring him in.
Well, I'm not saying we should. I'm not saying the Chiefs should. I just was curious if you were surprised.
No, I'm more surprised that Shedeur Sanders actually got picked than I am that Bond did not.
Really?
I felt coming into this morning that it might have been, we're just not going to draft him. We're going to make him earn it as a UDFA. That's how I felt the league felt about it this morning. Clearly, the Browns were like, hey, screw it. We'll give it a shot. And that's kind of what you have to do, especially with the UDFAs. But there are some that are really, really good out there that I think the Chiefs are probably already on the phone with. The top for me is going to be Issa from Wazoo, another developmental tackle, a Polynesian guy with good arm length, good power, can move well. I thought he might go and get drafted here late 6, 7, something like that. He did not. He's out there as a free agent. I know they're pursuing him. They had a lot of contact with him. I just don't know if they're going to land him or not. The other tackle that's really interesting to me is a local prospect. Logan Brown didn't get drafted, but Bryce Cabledew did. So I don't know what to tell you. Go get Logan Brown. Either of them I would take. Do you think there's room to bring in another offensive tackle that has upside, but would likely have to go to the practice squad no matter what?
That's exactly the point. Like, if they didn't get drafted, I think you have the opportunity to bring somebody in, and if you can't get them to the practice squad, you can't get them to the practice squad. Like, if they get picked up, what did you lose? I mean, you don't lose a draft pick. It's not like losing the defensive tackle they just lost a couple of years ago. So, to me, it's one of those things where if you think that there is an offensive tackle that you want and you want to see what he can do and you want to give him an opportunity, you bring him in. And if he can't make the roster because he is beat by the rest of your guys, but you still want him on the practice squad, you put him on the practice squad. If he gets picked up, so be it.
It is what it is.
Right. Like, it goes back to exactly what they did with Ethan Driscoll last year. That's what it comes down to for me. Go back and look at what they did with Driscoll, because he's an undrafted free agent. You and I had no thoughts that he was going to make the roster early on until you get into training camp, until you see where he's running, and until you see him get out in space in the preseason. And then you sit there and you're like, oh boy, he's got something that some of these other guys just don't have. And that's at the point where you find out that they can do some of the things that, that I think could make them, or could get them to where they would make this roster.
Yeah, I agree. The other two, I think, high-end UDFAs that I would be chasing down is another KU prospect in Kobe Bryant. I'd like to see him come into camp. And a bit of a smaller player, but a guy that I had a draftable grade on in Jabbar Muhammad from Oregon. I'd like to see both of them come into camp and see what they can do. Give them a shot at OTAs for these UDFAs and see how they come out.
Yeah. And I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be working and trying to get signed to different contracts at this point. And I'm going to be curious to see who they bring in as UDFAs and what they do and who they're able to get, because at this point, you're the Super Bowl champions. Most players are not going to come here unless they're, one, wanting to play specifically for the Chiefs and Andy Reid, trying to chase the Super Bowl, but two, unless you're going to pay them more money UDFA wise than some of these other teams will. And Kansas City generally hasn't been a team that's thrown a ton of money at UDFAs. They have, and usually those guys are the ones that they feel pretty good about, and it hasn't worked out for some of them. But that's the give and the take of this whole situation. Is if you're going to give somebody a $250,000 signing bonus, it's fine. It's going to count against your salary cap. If they don't make the roster, they don't make the roster. It is what it is at that point.
Yeah, and I think that's probably money well spent. I know that sounds like a gaping hole that you just threw $250K away, but I think you can find those gems. We could have said the same thing about Turk Wharton. You know what I mean? Like, he turned into something that I think is worth pursuing.
I want to be 100% clear. I'm not saying that it's not worth it. I'm just saying that some of those teams are going to throw way more money at some of these UDFAs than Kansas City will. Yeah, Kansas City is pretty selective in who they send or who they're giving money to and they won't spend as much as some of these other teams that want the UDFAs. And then the other side of it, like I was saying, is that if you're going to be signing with Kansas City, you have to be almost to the point of cocky with your attitude, because you're going to the Super Bowl champion, trying to make a roster, and good luck even making the roster, let alone having a chance to play on a regular basis.
Yeah. And the truth be told, I should echo Omar Norman-Lott when I say it's a privilege to be in the NFL, and even more so to be a Kansas City Chief. And that's just the truth of it. So do those guys have any shots? We don't know. We're going to have to find out, but they will have a good slew of UDFAs. We'll break some of those down as we go through, and we'll continue to look at fit for all these draft picks in the coming days. Don't miss a thing of it. Make sure you like and sub and hit that bell. Anything coming for you that I didn't cover that we need to go over?
No, I think that it's always fun this time of year, and it's going to be a fun next 12 to 24 hours to figure out who they're bringing in as UDFAs, and when the rookie minicamp is, and seeing the list of 70 players that come in for rookie minicamp, some as tryouts, some as UDFAs. I mean, you're going to have all of that coming in the coming weeks, and at this point, Kansas City's got their draft class. I would say that they got explosive at two of the positions they needed. Well, actually, I'd say three of the positions, maybe even four, because I'd say Norman Lott has explosion at defensive tackle. Gelati has explosion at defensive end, and you add explosion at wide receiver and running back too. So your explosion in your speed to an extent with the offensive players, but your explosiveness as a roster just went up. Obviously you're not going to say that about an offensive tackle, but when you start talking about some of the skill players in your defensive ends and your defensive tackles, all of that stuff really matters. So I'm really excited about that. And from what I've seen about their linebacker, he has explosion as well. And he has the ability, wearing the green dot, running the defense for your team last year, especially for a team like Oregon team.
Mm-hmm.
That's significant. That says that you're a smart football player. It says that you have a lot of your work ethic is good, and that just speaks volume for Bosa. And I think that that's going to be something to watch. Again, I don't think he makes it as a starter this year, but could see spot roles in different situations on defense. The nice thing about it, and think about this. This is what I really liked about the Bosa pick, is that Kansas City has varied so much in their safeties because they've had the different safeties to be able to do different roles. You haven't had that at linebacker.
True.
Now you have a converted safety that is now a linebacker. Maybe that gives you the ability to have somebody with a little bit more weight take one of those safety jobs away from a guy that's playing a little underweight, and that's going to help you in the running game just a little bit. And we're talking about a game of inches every single game.
Absolutely. I agree. The nice thing about Bosa, and I wouldn't call him terribly explosive. I would call him smoother than explosive.
Fair enough.
But he can come fill downhill. But more importantly, he drops into short zones like it's smooth as butter. And that's what's important. He is a middle linebacker that can cover backwards because of his safety background. And so as you're looking for maybe somebody to spell Nick Bolton as he gets older a little bit, like the hook zone on third down, he might be a middle backer that can play third down specifically. And I like the concept of that. We're going to see what they ask him to do. And I think that he's carrying a little bit too much weight this last season for what he can be to be optimal. We'll see what they ask him, and we'll see how he comes into camp. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of UDFAs, a lot of OTA updates. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and you have it all unlocked. Check out KC Chiefs Corner. Go to NFL33.com. If you still want the draft guide, you want to read up on all these guys, see how they ranked out in athleticism and production and in film grades, go check out rogueapc.com. We'll have more on RGR football for me in the coming weeks, and make sure you're here every single day because we have content for you. Chris, another milestone. Draft is over, and I'm going to go nap for a day or two.
Yeah, it's going to be this is a fun time of year, and I'm really excited to hear and see what these new players bring to this roster. And the one thing that I will say, we kind of talked about this going into day two, but after the day one draft of Joshua Simmons, don't expect to hear much about him. I mean, he may be on the field, he's going to be walking and showing and doing that kind of thing, Don't expect to see much. I don't care if he even participates in anything in mini camps, in OTAs. It would be great if he could participate in OTAs. If he can get out there by training camp, that's a win-win.
Yeah,
that's all you want.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If he can get out there for training camp, that's all you want. Like, I don't even care if he spends maybe the first 3 or 4 days of rookie camp on the pup, like whatever.
Matt and I have discussed this off camera, and he agrees. Like, the pup is most likely the best scenario as we see to slowly transitioning into camp. And if he can get some reps in camp, that'd be great. I don't think he has to be a full camp participant. Honestly, if he was able to be a sixth offensive lineman in some packages in the second half of the season, just for 3 or 4 plays a game, I think that's incredible.
Yeah. And that goes back to what we kind of talked about is like, you look at this draft pick and they basically got the best tackle in the draft. And this could be a redshirt year for him.
Yeah.
And I hate saying that, but are you okay with that? I am. I personally look at it and say, I'm fine with that. Like, it's not great, but I'm just fine with that because I know the talent that he has. If he can get into that talent, that's what's more important to me, because I think if he can be their answer for the next 10 years, Patrick Mahomes is going to have a much better career, or a much better ability to stay upright going into the the back end of his career when he's in his 30s and not being able to run and as nimble as he has been. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for us today, folks. Make sure that you check back as we are about to go over in depth our favorites, our takeaways. We'll do some grades. We'll get into fits and finishes. Like, sub, hit that bell. Have a great evening tonight, and we'll talk to you next time.